Hello, I'm Susan, a 30-year-old who married Ronald 4 years ago. Ronald is an incredibly charming and kind-hearted person who makes every day feel special. Unfortunately, this warm sentiment doesn't extend to his mother, Betty, my mother-in-law. For reasons unbeknownst to me, Betty has shown a clear dislike towards me from the start. I understand that Ronald is her beloved son, and she might just be trying to protect him, but there are times when she goes too far. Betty has a way of committing subtle acts that appear harmless, but are actually designed to provoke irritation and paint me as the unreasonable one. We've all met someone like her at some point. Regrettably, she's my mother-in-law. I was raised to speak my mind and rarely hold back, which might be one of the qualities that attracted Ronald to me in the first place. Our differing personalities drew us together. Having studied psychology, I recognize Betty's tactics and underlying ill intentions. Our strong personalities clash, which probably explains why her initial comment to me was about my eating habits, which left everyone at the table in stunned silence. Ronald, though embarrassed, quickly defended me, but Betty insisted she was just concerned about my health, citing older photos where I looked better. Despite feeling mortified and irritated, I remained composed, not wanting to create a scene at our first meeting. As time went on, these uncomfortable incidents became more frequent and intense. Despite bonding well with the rest of Ronald's family and even his childhood friends, Betty's coldness towards me remained unfounded. Even on my wedding day, she tried to impose her opinions, criticizing my appearance in front of others. Yet amidst the chaos, I deeply appreciated the love and acceptance from the rest of Ronald's family. Trying to smooth over her earlier remarks, Betty often backtracks her statements with, "Oh no, darling, that's not what I meant. You have the potential to look so much better." She claims to see a lot of herself in me and acknowledges that I am a bright young woman, despite her continued critiques about my appearance. While I might acknowledge that Betty has her unique kind of beauty, the ongoing challenges with her have left a lingering bitterness and strain that's hard to shake off. Typically vibrant and outspoken, I found my energy sapped by her persistent efforts to undercut me. Fast forward 4 years to a recent episode that unfolded at Ronald's childhood home, where his parents still live. We were invited over for a Sunday dinner, an invitation that included my brother-in-law Charles, hinting at something significant on the horizon. As the evening progressed, it became clear that the dinner was more than just a casual gathering. Betty grabbed everyone's attention to make a grand announcement with a flourish of a document in hand. "Attention everyone, I have an announcement. With my birthday coming up, I wanted to share my big plans. We're going to Puerto Rico." The news was met with cheers and excitement from around the table. "That sounds fantastic, Betty. What amazing news!" I exclaimed, genuinely excited about the trip. However, Betty turned to me with a starkly different tone. "Actually, Susan, you're not coming." Confused, I responded, "What do you mean? This wasn't part of the plan." Betty replied matter-of-factly, "I made some last-minute changes and canceled your ticket before incurring extra charges." Flabbergasted, I could only ask, "Why would you do that? Why do you seem to dislike me so much?" Amidst the resulting chaos, Charles and I sat in stunned silence as arguments broke out across the table. Eventually, Betty attempted to justify her actions. "Okay, fine, I'll tell you why. I believe that as I get older, I should spend my remaining years with those I truly care about. Unfortunately, Susan, you don't make that list." Shocked by her bluntness, Ronald interjected, "Mom, really? What's wrong with you?" Betty defensively shot back, "Nothing's wrong with me. I'm just saying that Susan isn't technically family since she's not related by blood. And by that logic, Charles shouldn't be going either, right? But that's different." Ronald countered, "That's ridiculous. Charles is considered family and so is Susan. We're married, she's family too." Betty dismissed this, clinging to her stance. "Well, Charles has always been our sweet baby angel, but Susan hasn't. I'm just not comfortable with her coming on the trip. It's my birthday, and I want to be surrounded by those I'm closest to." This painful exclusion starkly highlighted the ongoing challenges in our relationship, revealing the deep divides that Betty's attitudes had fostered within the family. As the tension in the room peaked, I stood firm, my voice resolute as it echoed, capturing the attention of everyone, including Betty, who until now had been smirking discreetly. However, seeing my determination, her expression quickly shifted to seriousness. "Betty, it's clear from day one that you've held a grudge against me. For 4 years, I've tolerated your difficult behavior. Do you think we're oblivious to your actions? Do you really believe we can't see your self-centeredness?" Betty snapped back. "Watch your tone, young lady. Remember, you're in my house, and you won't be for much longer." "I'm about to leave, but before I do, I have something important to say," I declared, turning to face my beloved husband, whose eyes were filled with anger and pain as he stared at his mother. "Darling, I love you completely. I've tried to endure to bridge the gap your mother has so fervently kept open, but she will never accept me as part of this family. No matter how much I hold back or how hard I try, she will always find fault with me. You should still go on this trip. Despite everything, she's your mother, and you love her. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine." Then, turning back to Betty, who seemed taken aback by my directness, I continued, "And as for you, Betty, unfortunately for you, I am deeply in love with your son, and I am not going anywhere. You might think you can push me out, but I'm here to stay. Even in Puerto Rico, I'll be in your thoughts. Let's face it, I think you're oddly fixated on me." Betty, visibly angered, interjected, "How dare you? I ought to." "I'm done letting you try to tear me down," I cut her off firmly. "I can't understand why, when all I've ever done is offer kindness and patience, even when it was the last thing you deserved, but enough is enough. If you don't want me in Puerto Rico or as part of this family, that's fine, but as long as I breathe, I will be here for Ronald, for Larry, and for Charles, but never for you." At that moment, it seemed as if I had finally left her speechless. She stood, mouth agape, struggling to find the words her pride wouldn't allow her to say. I said my goodbyes to the other family members, gave Ronald a reassuring kiss on the cheek, and headed for the door. Ronald called after me, "Let me drive you home at least. I can't let you take a cab." "Don't worry about me, babe. I love you," I reassured him, leaving the house with my head held high, empowered by my stand. "Thank you for your love, but I'll be fine. You should go discuss your trip," I said, trying to ease the tension as Ronald offered to drive me home. "Okay, if you say you'll be fine, I'll trust you. Oh, and don't forget your purse," he reminded me. "Right, my purse," I murmured, realizing I had left it in the kitchen. When I walked into the kitchen to retrieve it, I found Betty there, likely taking a moment to herself after our heated exchange. "What do you want?" she snapped as soon as she saw me. "Don't worry about me, sweetheart. I'm just here to grab my things," I replied, trying to keep the situation from escalating further. "Well, make it quick. I want you out of my house," she retorted, still fuming. "I can't believe the things you said to me," Betty added before storming out of the room, too angry to even see me off. With a soft scoff at her dramatic exit, I grabbed my purse and noticed a piece of paper beside it. Curious, I picked it up, thinking it might be the trip itinerary, but instead I found it was a letter in Betty's handwriting addressed to Charles. "Dearest Charles, you've always been like a son to me, and I love you dearly," it began. The sentiment seemed strange but heartfelt. Driven by curiosity, I continued to read. "The love and care you've shown me throughout the years will never be forgotten. Regrettably, even with my son Ronald, I feel the love we once shared is no longer there." This line stopped me cold. Was Betty implying she loved Charles more than her son, Ronald? That seemed impossible. As I read further, each line deepened my shock. Though I knew it wasn't right to read someone else's letter, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the revealing words. After finishing, I paced the kitchen, contemplating my next move. Realizing that everyone who needed to know about this letter was still in the house, I knew it was time to act. Confirming the contents once more, I walked into the dining room where only a few pairs of eyes met mine. Larry, Ronald's father, immediately expressed his sympathy. "Susan, I am profoundly sorry for what my wife is subjecting you to. Don't worry, you're coming to Puerto Rico with us. Betty is just going through a rough patch. I'll talk to her and make her see the reason. I don't know what's gotten into her, but I'll sort it out, I promise. Larry, please don't worry about me. As I mentioned, I'm fine. I've stumbled upon some interesting news," I hinted, holding the letter discreetly. My words hung in the air, hinting at a shift in the dynamics that evening, as the letter's contents might just change everything. I needed to share something important with everyone, especially Ronald and Charles. Ronald's expression turned anxious, possibly fearing I was too overwhelmed by his mother's behavior and considering a break from our marriage. He always empathized deeply whenever I vented about his mother's antics, astonished at how I managed to endure them. "It's my love for you that keeps me strong," I would always reassure him. Noticing Betty wasn't in the room, I asked, "Where's Betty? She needs to hear this too." Larry responded, "She mentioned a headache after your confrontation and opted for a nap upstairs. She won't be down for a while. You know how she values her beauty sleep." Frustrated by her absence, yet familiar with Betty's habits that often seemed to conveniently excuse her from uncomfortable situations, I sighed. "This is crucial. She has to be here." "It's okay, Susan. You can share with us, and we'll fill her in when she wakes up," Larry assured me. Pausing, torn between wanting Betty to face this revelation directly and not wanting to prolong Ronald's anxiety, I decided to proceed. "All right, I'll share what I found," I said, observing Ronald's growing unease. While I was in the kitchen getting my purse ready to leave, I stumbled upon something rather intriguing, I continued, retrieving the letter from my purse. As I began to read it aloud, the room fell silent, hanging on every word. The letter read, "Dearest Charles, you know you have always been like a son to me, and I love you dearly. The love and care you've shown me throughout the years will never be forgotten. I hate to admit it, but even with my son Ronald, I feel as though the love we once shared is no longer there. Ronald and I just don't see eye to eye like we used to, and honestly, I think it's because of Susan. Ever since he married her, he no longer has time for me. He doesn't show me love, and therefore I don't think I can continue loving him as I once did. I love you, and you are my son. With that being said, I want to let you know that I am going to update my will so that you will inherit all of my belongings, not Ronald." The room was heavy with silence after I finished reading. I looked around, seeing shock and confusion in their eyes. This letter, this declaration from Betty, not only revealed deep-seated resentments, but threatened to shift the familial dynamics significantly. It was a moment of truth that would inevitably bring about tough conversations and decisions within the family. Honestly, at this point, I'm beyond caring. It's that Susan. She's the reason my feelings for Ronald have changed. I hope this letter reaches you well. The reason I couldn't bring this up in person is, and it pains me to say this, I couldn't bear to see your possible rejection. I know you see Ronald like a brother, and you might not agree with my decision, but that doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm leaving everything to you, the money, the house, the cars, and even my small businesses. They're all yours, whether you agree or not. If you want to discuss this, please call me. I look forward to your response. I will love you forever and always, your second mom." After reading the letter, I looked up to see a whirlwind of emotions around the room. Larry seemed on the verge of tears. Charles was shocked, and Ronald looked like he was about to lose his temper. "I can't believe she wrote all this. Is she serious? So she's cutting me out of the will just to spite me and Susan?" Ronald exclaimed, incredulous and angry. "She's completely lost it. I don't even know what to say anymore. This has gone way too far. I'm so tired of her toxic behavior." In that charged moment, an idea struck me. A week passed, and it was time for the planned trip to Puerto Rico. That morning, Betty found a note from her husband on her bedside table. It read, "Good morning, beautiful. We decided to let you catch up on your beauty sleep. Don't worry, your bags are packed. Just meet us at the airport." Betty hurriedly got ready and rushed to the airport, searching for her family. She tried calling them, but no one answered. Assuming they had already boarded, she took her flight, hoping to catch up with them in Puerto Rico. After enduring the 10-hour flight, she landed and immediately video called Larry. "Hey, Larry, where are you guys? I woke up late and found your note, but none of you were answering. I assumed you boarded without me. Where are you? Let's start the festivities." "That won't be happening, Betty." "What do you mean? Where are you?" "I'm at home, Betty." "What? Why are you at home?" "You see, Betty, Susan brought some important information to our attention last week. Since discovering that information, we decided that we'd rather spend time in Los Angeles with Susan than go anywhere with you," Larry explained as Betty gasped in disbelief. "You think we wouldn't find out?" Ronald interjected angrily. "Don't baby me. You were going to cut me out of your will, Mom? How did you even find out about that?" "That so-called wretched girl you despise, Susan, found your letter in the kitchen," Larry added, his voice firm. "I don't know what you're talking about," Betty replied, her voice wavering slightly. "Lying right now is only making things worse, Betty," I said calmly. "Charles, tell them." "You've got to believe me. I did nothing of the sort," Betty pleaded. "We all read the letter, Betty. The game is up," Charles stated plainly. "But I didn't do anything. Susan is making everything up," Betty protested weakly. "Oh, am I? You are so pathetic it actually makes me sick," I countered, my frustration peaking. "We all know what you said and what you tried to do. Thank goodness I was curious enough to read the whole thing." "Ronald, Larry, please." Betty tried to appeal to them. "No, Betty, enough is enough. You're done. You don't get to say anything else. Your hatred has caused you to be blind. Now you have to deal with the consequences of being alone on your birthday because of what you've done," Larry declared firmly. "But I'll be alone. It won't be fun," Betty whimpered, the reality of her situation dawning on her. "Maybe people would like to hang out with you more if you weren't such a raging witch," I retorted, finality in my voice. "Have fun." With that, Larry ended the call. We all let out a collective sigh of relief. I was the first to start laughing, a nervous, disbelieving chuckle that soon spread. Ronald joined in, followed by Charles, and before we knew it, we were all roaring with laughter at the dining table, overwhelmed by the sheer absurdity of the situation. The image of Betty's face, pale and drained as she realized the game was up, was unforgettable. It was clear that this was the first time in a long while that Betty had felt truly embarrassed. Left to spend her vacation alone, she frequently called Larry, pleading with him to join her. She didn't want to cancel the expensive reservations she had made, but Larry consistently refused, stating that they would need to set some strict ground rules if she wanted to continue their marriage upon her return. Betty's response to the situation was a complete turnaround from her usual demeanor. She became apologetic and frantic, which was a genuine surprise to everyone. Ronald also made it clear that if Betty wanted to remain a part of his life, she would need to make a drastic change in her attitude. He was firm in his resolve, warning that he was prepared to cut ties with her permanently if she ever disrespected him again, even with the smallest negative remark, just as she had initially planned to do to him through her will. As for Charles, he decided it was time to stop being overly accommodating to Betty, realizing that his behavior had only enabled her toxic actions. Consequently, Betty not only endured a miserable time in what should have been a beautiful vacation, but also faced the real risk of losing the three most important men in her life. Her relationships with them had become strained, and it was clear she needed to change dramatically. Regarding my stance, I sent Betty a message stating that I needed time to decide if I could forgive her for all the wrongs she had done. She replied apologetically, begging me to persuade the men to reconsider their positions. However, I refused, telling her that she had made her bed and now she had to lie in it. To this day, Betty is still trying to repair the deeply damaged relationship she caused. I just hope that through this difficult time she has learned her lesson